bing, bing. We're live. It's Martin Fowler Scrum. It's Martin Fowler Scrum. It's Sam and Bill. And yeah, Bill, how are things going with you? Anything achieved? Anything blocking you?
No blockers. I've carried on working through all the coursework I've got. I've actually managed to install the website one locally now. It's only failed one of the cucumber tests. Was it something to do with subscribe for non-profits or something?
Yeah, right.
But I noticed Ben was having the same issue.
Yes.
I can't remember if it was the same ones or not.
Well, yes, and I suspect what we have is we have an ongoing issue with intermittently failing JavaScript tests. That I could talk about at some length, but there's a collection, let's say about 5 or 10 different tests that sometimes pass and sometimes fail, and we are not clear why. And our best guess is there's some kind of race condition going on. These are the ones that do this are all JavaScript enabled acceptance tests.
Okay. Well, JavaScript was single threaded though.
Well, it is, but so what we have is when the tests are running, we've got, if you think about it, there's the test mechanism which uses Capybara, which then runs something like Phantom.js, which runs kind of a browser. And then there's a separate, there's like the server on the back end. And I mean, we have spent at times like trying to drill into it to try and make them more reliable, and nothing we've tried so far has made them more reliable. I mean, I think it's a race condition in as much as, like a request has gone into the. I don't understand it. I mean, personally, like the things that it gets stuck on are like little pop-ups, like JavaScript pop-ups, where it's supposed to be, finding the contents of a cell or what have you, and so one presumes it gets into some sort of race condition, not within JavaScript itself, but between stuff that's supposed to have happened on the server, and like we can increase the waiting times and so on, but but maybe it just needs a fresh set of eyes on it to work out what's going wrong. There is I'll just find it, JavaScript Capybara. So there is a blog post from last year that sort of talks about the general nature of the problem, that it is good background reading that you might be interested in. There are some particularly frequent culprits for this, random failing. What you might try locally is if you have if you have like 1, 2, or 3 failing ones that you don't recognize, that you haven't been working on, then just rerun those individually. You know how to do that in Cucumber, right? You can just rerun the individual test.
Well, I thought I did, and it's just started running the whole thing.
Okay. Well, maybe I can show. I can maybe show that at the end of the session.
Number.
Yeah, you need to specify the file, and then when you get the error, it usually at the very end of it will tell you specifically the full path and the line number. So if you copy and paste that and run that, then that allows you to rerun the specifically failing test.
Okay, I must have done something wrong because that's what I did.
Well, maybe we can look at that more closely at the end. Yeah, anything else going on that you want to mention?
No. I mean, at the moment with the coursework I'm doing, I'm actually started the authentication part on Rails.
Oh yeah.
So I was thinking of looking through that the authentication bit on website one, give me an idea of how you do it in real world, as it were.
Yeah, totally.
So basically, what are you looking at? Are you just looking to basically clean it up or something? You said yesterday.
Well, I think the issue that we found is that we upgraded the gem, and the system failed, but the test still passed. So, I mean, that fix now is deployed, and it seems to be working. So we could say job done. Yeah, I mean, clean up. I guess in a situation like that, given that there was a production failure that wasn't caught by our acceptance tests, it seems sensible that we review our acceptance tests and say, okay, so why didn't it the acceptance test is supposed to save us from that happening, and they didn't in this case. So we, rather than clean up per se, I think we sensibly investigate, okay, what acceptance tests do we have, and can we work out why they didn't catch this error? Can we modify the acceptance test so that they would catch this error in future? And we might then, as a result of investigating, say, oh, actually, you know, the gems have changed. This is now no longer best practice. This should be refactored. We might want to do some clearing up. But I would put the big emphasis on trying to work out why the acceptance tests didn't do their job.
All right, because I've got a, well, I mean, I launched the server locally, so I can log on using the random account, and I can log on using GitHub. The Google one isn't working because it's not fixed.
For you locally,
Yeah.
well, maybe let's have a look at that.
I could just, what test is it? What file is the?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's have a look at that together more closely at the end of the Scrum, and I'll just do my update, which is that. So I've been working on mainly the paid project for the Anthony Powell Society, and I've got various things fixed, and I've got some new forms for them looking okay. I think they want a migration, which is going to be a headache, but there you go. So that's under control. I managed to do a little bit trying to fix up our greeter bots, which seem to be down. Also got that fix out into production, so the Google login is working in production and for me locally at the moment, I believe. What's other things going on? Yeah, the AV community meeting last night was just myself and Drow, and we worked through getting some background jobs set up for the Met Plus system, which is they're now paying us to run their system for them, which is a very nice development for that project. Yeah, and that's about the size of things. What else is going on? We've got the RSpec mob coming up at the top of the hour, and I've got a couple of face-to-face pairing things, but probably going to be on local support and then on website 1, and then NHS wiki meeting. So yeah, that's our Scrum done. But yeah, we've got some time now. We could, you and I, have a look together at yeah. So you say that that's failing locally for you for the Google thing. Should we have a? Do you want to share your screen? I'll share my screen. We can have a look at where we are and help orient you on this.
So do you want me to just launch the site locally then? Is that what you mean?
Well, what I would say is start off by sharing your screen, so we can be kind of 100% clear exactly where we are. Because the critical thing here is about, as you may already have this like very clearly laid out in your head. There's the issue of you know, which versions of the code are you on, and what, because you were just saying that the Google failed locally for you. Yeah, and then the immediate question in my mind is, right, so you're on develop, but so if you do git pull origin develop there, can we make sure that you've got the latest develop code locally? Oh, sorry, I'm looking at my own screen in your, so what branch are you on there?
Develop.
Right. Yes, and it says in there. So if you do git pull origin develop, excuse me. Okay, so it's completely up to date. So there, yeah. If you run the run that locally, now it may be that there are keys that you would need for it to work locally, which I have and you don't, which is.
Did you not give me that yesterday, or did you?
I did give you a set of keys, which were related to various getting the test passing. I don't know that any of those keys will allow you to do the login via Google. Like we have like a development ID and secret that's set in environment variables on the production development staging server. I mean, there's two different ones. There's a development one, and they maybe need to be set up separately. But so, yeah, you're running the Rails server there. So I've both run the Rails server. let's try and find what I'm looking for here. Go and look in my bash RC to see if I've got some different bits and pieces set up. And maybe that's something that I can add to the, what's it called? The stuff that I do distribute to people, so more people can test this locally.
I've got the server running.
Great. Yeah. So do you want to navigate to the server itself and try and do the login? And you were saying there, so you can log in with GitHub, but if you do,
yeah. So GitHub already. There we go.
That all works, does it?
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
I can. Yeah, because I can see all of your screens.
I'm logged in there.
Yep. Yep. That's great. Yeah, but so if you do log out, then
again using
login using Google, so you get the error. So now if you look at my screen and we go back and we look, so that's the blog post, which is all about these issues of trying to get reliable code via JavaScript testing. So now this is me logging in. So yeah, now if we log out and then log in, so I can do it, I believe, with using Google like this. It will, yeah, it goes here. So I think there's things that you can see, like it says like client ID and so on. So now I suspect that I've got some kind of keys set up locally that allow that to work and are preventing that from working on your system.
Okay.
But I think there's no reason why I can't share those keys with you if I can just work out what they are. So what I'm doing in the background is I'm going to, on Heroku, I'm going to go and look at the development. Now, the funny thing is that the development server has I've never been able to get, in my memory, GitHub and Google login working on the development server. And I don't know why. It's set up exactly the same as the staging server as far as I can see. But yeah, so I think what we've got we've got these things, we've got a G+ key and something called a G+ key and a G+ secret, which I wonder if I've got them somewhere in my, I mean, it would be good to be documenting these things as well. I'm just popping the key names. So we have the key and the secret for login on the staging development, this, that, and the other. Maybe we need a separate setup for that. So I was just looking in my bash RC file where I do set up a lot of these things, and I can't see those set in there at all. The other place I guess I might have them is in like my kind of application YAML or something for website 1, and because I've got the set that I distribute to people generally is slightly different from the ones that I distribute that I think I have locally. Although I'm not seeing an application.yaml. Oh, it's .env, isn't it? Gosh, I'm confused about projects. .env, let's look at my .env file. Yeah, no, I don't have any. I don't have those obviously in my .env file. Let's find in. I'm just going to like search for those values. What's this called? Like G+_key, and see if it shows me somewhere that I've got them. Okay. Oh, so I seem to have them hard coded in, and I think that's an initializer that I've got. That's strange. I mean, I'm seeing them. I've got a .env develop server and an app.json file, both on my root initializers, omniauth RB. Okay, if you go to your in your code, if you go to config initializers omniauth.rb, do you see like G plus key and G plus secret in that file?
Yeah, there's a line that says provider G plus env, G plus key, env, G plus secret.
Let's have a
Oh
look.
yeah, above. Yeah, above you've got them.
But above that, yes.
Yeah, they're hard coded. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got hard coded ones there.
Yeah, there's
No,
G
that's
plus
interesting.
secret, GitHub key, GitHub secret.
Can you just maybe copy that file as you see it? And well, I guess actually, well, don't worry. Let me. Presumably, that's just on the server. I mean, in the GitHub cloud, and we've all got the same thing there. And that's basically telling us if we're running in development mode or in test mode, then these are the keys to use. And presumably, that's the GitHub ones that you're using and are able to work with there. Ventures. Whoops. I'm just looking at what the develop branch has. So then, is there something else that would? So I was assuming that there was some difference in configuration between mine and yours that was preventing, you getting that working for you locally. But superficially, if it's using that initializer omniauth, I'm just browsing. Yeah. So you just check out what commit you're on. If you do git log in your terminal, see there, rather than stopping the server, you could just switch to a different. Exactly. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, so you do git log.
So the last git is 55222841.
Okay, well that to me looks like you haven't actually got the latest code then, because I'm on 3841. So I guess if you go back to your just to press Q to get out of the log thing there. I guess if you do git remote -v, I guess what we'll see is that you've probably got your origin set to your own fork of the repo, and then
I probably have actually.
Just hit return there. And you've got an upstream, which is the yeah. So what you need to do is do git pull upstream developed.
Oh, okay, I did that. Okay. But the origin was supposed to be set to.
Yeah. Oh, well, it is. It is. I was just confused there because I set my origin to the main repo, and I mean, I think in principle as well, we can get you set up so that you don't need to work with the fork; that you just push branches directly onto the main repo. But there you go. So I think that's those changes there, that gem file and gem file lock change. If you type bundle now, that will get you set up with it all working for you locally.
Oh, so that's gonna give me a few minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then you can leave that running in the background. Yes. Yeah, so, I mean, the other question that you had was about running those Cucumber tests, but
all right, it's finished.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, yeah. So you could now, well, you probably need to. You're running the server in the other window, so you need to other terminal. You'll need to see that now. The bundle will not. It's definitely not going to work unless you go and shut down the server there and restart it. So there's loads of hot reload things, but when you change gems, you have to restart the server.
All right, doing that.
And in principle, then you would be able to log in with Google locally. Because we've got these keys being used. Okay, that's interesting to. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
All right, so it's all the fix you did yesterday now.
So that is the gem thing that we So we sort of downgraded the gem yesterday, and that now. So there, I think that's not working. It says that email has already been taken. So you were trying to log in with a Google account where probably the email's already been taken from your GitHub account, and so it's running into that error. But
it's not able to associate the two of them.
No, there's actually a different mechanism. So you'd have to log in the GitHub thing, and you can link your Google thing. That's also a usability issue there. Ideally, what it should do there is link them rather than give that email has already been taken. So that's a bug that you've found that in the sign up process. That
with websites, I sign on with one account and then I start using GitHub. Then I want to sign on with that, and it always works seamlessly.
Yes, and well, it certainly could do, and we have that functionality in the site. It just needs to be hooked up to the login process, or the login process. Because if you can now go and log in with your GitHub, I suspect what we will see. So go log in with your GitHub, which should just work. Oops. Ooh.
Nothing to do with
I don't know. So there, problems. I think it may be caught in a weird state. I mean, that again, that's all. The interesting question is, would we
log in?
So you could restart the server there and just go back to the base and re-log in with your GitHub.
Yeah.
I mean, and this, of course, this is a big important part of our whole system, is making sure that the login flow is as smooth and sign-up flow is as smooth as possible for anybody who's coming in, because, of course, any difficulties or wrinkles there mean that the number of people who actually come in. So I think that they're right. So you are already logged in there.
Yeah.
So now if you just go to your account page, there's no need to log out.
Clicking on the wrong one.
So there should be an option there. If you click edit, you can click Google here. You see there's a Google blue.
The big Google button.
Yep.
All right.
And so what that will do...
that links the two of them.
Yes, it does. But absolutely, what you've just gone through there, which is it, complains with email taken.
Yeah.
There's no reason, I think, in principle, why it couldn't just do that linking when you try and log in with something else.
Yeah, because when I logged in earlier using the GitHub, I saw these two buttons here.
Yes.
It didn't occur to me that was there.
Absolutely not. And that's, nothing. I'm certainly not saying, oh, you should have known to do that, because you shouldn't. There's no reason that you should. And that's I would say that's like a fundamental UX, user experience, usability issue that we kind of, the site was all put together by lots of different volunteers working in many cases at cross purposes and so on. So I think we've got lots of UX issues like that, some big, some small, and so that's certainly something. We could open a ticket now, which maybe I'll do, which is to describe this thing. Let's go in here. What we do? We're in website 1. So I think we've got the issue that, I mean, the other thing we've got. Sorry for like multitasking, is that if your email is not public on GitHub, it won't let you log in with GitHub, which I think also puts people off, if you know what I mean.
You may not. Often nowadays when I sign up, I don't want to sign up. I don't want to create an account. I want to use GitHub or Gmail, and if I can't, I won't.
Right, but some people on GitHub, they don't want to have their emails public. Now, the fact that you used GitHub implies that your email address on GitHub is a public one.
Yeah.
Which, and for me, that's fine. And for lots of people, it's fine. But there's some other people for whom they don't want to do that. But I think that's probably, if we adjust the way that our GitHub authentication works, we can probably grab their private email as long as we don't expose it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand that. GitHub.
Yeah. but I think we have the permissions to do that, or we can ask people for the permissions to do that, and then GitHub login would work for those people who didn't have public emails. That's sort of just a hunch of mine. But so here we've got the issue of like trying to log in with Google when email have already signed up with email leads to error should automatically associate with account. And so then general summary, yeah, that's the, I mean, it's the same thing. Expected behavior. Then signing in with Google or GitHub, rather we should add connection to any existing account with the same email. Currently, login is blocked, saying email is taken. Possible solution, see functionality on user edit page where different Google and GitHub connections can be made to the same account. So steps to reproduce the bug, ensure you have an account with an email that you also have on Google or GitHub. Then log in with a method you never used before. See the error message. So, and you were encountering that. So what I have it set up so I can take screenshots extremely quickly. I mean, on the Mac, you can do it with Command Shift like 4, and then I have them automatically go to my Dropbox environment, and then I can paste them into the thing, and that's really handy. Okay. Context, and I think the context here is like we should allow folks to log in and sign up. It's not really affecting her as easily as possible. Rather than blocking them, we should try to connect accounts and do login with existing accounts if they accidentally re-sign up. And then we've got this, and it's just like, I don't think that that's really relevant in this situation, because I'm fairly sure everybody would encounter the same thing. So there. So now we've got that, the bug in there. Now the interesting thing here is that we've got various bugs, usability issues, this, that, and the other with these things, which is then the thing to work on. And I can also say that I'm fairly sure that the underlying code is quite gnarly and brittle and so on. So it's we then got to be cautious about choosing which bit of the system to work on. Do we try and improve this? Do we try and improve the GitHub logging experience? Do we focus on we've got these acceptance tests didn't catch that previous bigger error, which was totally blocking people from getting logged in. So that's then part of the whole agile Scrum process, is working out which things to focus on, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes sense. I was just thinking, looking at the tests, catch what happened last time would be a higher priority, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you in that it feels like we need to sort of batten down the kind of the core issues compared to some of the other ones, like this idea of a funnel. If there's like 1,000 people coming in, like we've got like 10,000 people arriving at our site every month due to our Google AdWords, and then we've probably got about 1,000 of them or 500 of them, say between 500 and 1,000, who are actually trying to sign up. So there's kind of a numbers game for which are the most critical things, and what proportion of users are being affected by these different. Some of the things are more corner cases than others. But yes, did you need help navigating to where the particular errors, tests were, or did you find the relevant
Just
tests?
the tests, actually. That would be a help.
Yeah, yeah. So let's see. Yeah, so this is in basically all. I think all of the tests for this are in the. If you look at, I mean, there may well be integration tests and so on, but if we look at the acceptance level tests, we've got features, and then it's all in users, and then we've got things like the OmniAuth feature, and then you can see there's things like the link GitHub feature. Yeah, those are probably the two. And so here, we've got these two things here checking for being able to log in with GitHub and Google. I guess there's also like maybe sign up as well is going to have other things here. Yeah, we've got, there's basically this tag that we've got called OmniAuth, which is going to be used to mock out parts of the OmniAuth framework in order for these tests to pass. So, there's a lot of different bits and pieces here, and I'd also say that probably the wording of the tests is maybe not fantastic. Like there's this. Have you heard of this idea about the difference between imperative and declarative testing in Cucumber?
Yeah. Well, imperative, you mean just you go into detail, laying out every step, while declarative, you look at more of a higher level. Just
exactly. So we've got this. There's the scenarios like this one where it's. I mean. It's difficult. I have a feeling that these two are ones that I've created following bug reports, that people had, and then I was very specifically doing the series of steps that the user went through in order to encounter those. And there's an argument that in order to make these more readable, I should maybe, rather than having 8 steps here, I should create like sub steps. And Anyway, there's a whole. I don't know. I find it's quite a difficult balance between, given limited amount of time, delivering functionality and also trying to get the the test documentation into a state where it's just really straightforward. It's as straightforward as possible for other people to work with, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes sense.
But yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, now that the Google's working, it's hard to know probably what test should have picked it up.
Well, yes. I mean, I guess the key thing is that it was. There's also this issue, like we've got tests spread out, but I would say here we've got, like, in principle, right? This is the test that should have caught that.
Which one?
This one here. So log in with Google account. And when I click so this is like, I mean, the funny thing with this one is that the test itself, it's just putting us on the sign up page. I mean, I start to wonder if this is a kind of a vacuous test, like, because this is doing login and it's saying when I click with Google and it's saying signed in successfully. And that's it's kind of like, you'd have thought in order to log in successfully, even with Google, you would kind of need to have previously created an account, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But we see here that then we've got like OmniAuth and Silence OmniAuth as two like hooks that are on here. So if we go and look in the hooks directory, we can see here that we've got OmniAuth, and that seems fair enough, that like OmniAuth here, this is the standard mocking system that basically allows us to simulate a OmniAuth login without actually going out to a third party. And that's what the OmniAuth folks recommend, so that's fair enough. But then I noticed we've also got that other one, which is called OmniAuth Silence. Control F, and we go look for so silent. I'm not finding it in there. Let's have a look.
You found silently then.
Well, maybe. I mean, maybe the error was being there, and for some reason, someone has added this OmniAuth silence thing in there. And let's have a look. So we'll look for the word silence. The problem is it's search. Yeah, well, case sensitive silence. No, that's weird. But so I mean, there's often weirdness in legacy code, which is what we're working in here. Let's go back to OmniAuth feature again. I'm not sure if this is even, I mean, it may not be even exist. I don't know.
What does that step, Google, what does the actual step do then?
Well, these two steps they're very basic. Click with Google will, I mean, what we've got here is background. It's going to navigate to the sign-in page. And then it's going to click on the Google button, and then it's going to see sign in successfully. So these are just very vanilla capybara steps. See, it's just doing like click link or button, and then it's just going to like look in the page for the presence of that text. So they're not doing anything complex at all. It's very, you know, just here's the web page, click the button, check for the text. But these
in the past though, because the text wasn't there.
Well, yeah, absolutely, it shouldn't have passed. But OmniAuth is being mocked. So this is the danger with a mock, is mocks can very much make tests pass that wouldn't in the real world if the mock is not functioning properly.
Oh, okay.
So that's the real danger with mocking, and it's particularly dangerous in acceptance tests, which is supposed to be testing the real world situation. But of course, if the real world situation involves going out and talking to a third party, then, you know, so it's very tricky. Let me go on in here. But so, yeah, I mean, certainly silence OmniAuth from its description seems like it might silence OmniAuth. And that would be a reason why we wouldn't see the failure. But I'm not actually seeing any definition of silence OmniAuth within the path that we have. It's not finding the word silence anywhere in the support directory, unless it's somehow defined somewhere else. I mean, I can search against the whole thing that I've got locally. Let's have a look. Silence. But there's something here that says you can add backtrace silencers when libraries. I mean, I don't know if OmniAuth silence is some part of the OmniAuth package. You know what I mean? That it's a hook that's been provided for us. Difficult to know. So, you know, we would sensibly. I mean, in this case, what we might do is we might experiment by rolling back to that version of the code where what's it called? Where we were having the problem, right? So we know that the problem was on this commit here. So what I can do here is I can just check out that commit instance, and then I can run specifically that test. So Cucumber, and so this is features, user, the OmniAuth feature, and it is with the Google Connect on line 15. I can run specifically that test. Now, as far as we knew, this test always passed, and I haven't changed anything, so it should still pass there, but I'm just doing that to get like a baseline. And it's annoying that it takes a little while to start up. But what I will be tempted to do here is then remove the OmniAuth silence thing to see if that. And what's funny for me at the moment is I can't find any like I'm doing a Google for OmniAuth silence, and it's not coming up with anything. I mean, it may just be a empty tag that's not actually doing something, or it's some kind of I'm going to do Cucumber silence. Maybe it's like a generic thing that we can apply to the other thing. So that passes, which is, you know, we would like it not to, although maybe just the nature of the failure is that we can't easily get it to fail. But so I can rerun OmniAuth feature, having removed this, to see if, you know, would that have been a better setup where we would have got an error message. I suspect it may just run green again. see what happens there.
It's still passed, isn't it?
We're going to see. It hasn't done anything yet.
Oh. Well, that's running. I'm just gonna. I'll be 1 second.
Sure, sure. So it also just passed. I don't know if you're back. I was just going to try and running it again without even the OmniAuth tag.
All right, sorry. Did that work then?
It passed. So the OmniAuth silence thing, as far as I can tell, is not doing anything, or at least I can't find any documentation that tells me, like, I mean, you know, maybe somebody created the OmniAuth silent tag and meant to implement it and didn't, or it was implemented and then the implementation got deleted, or who knows? It doesn't, removing it does not seem to have affected the operation of this test. And so now this is if I remove the OmniAuth mocking operation, and so we get an error there, which is perhaps not surprising. We wouldn't expect the OmniAuth to work in the test environment without lots of setup, and we also probably wouldn't want OmniAuth to be actually hitting the real Google, you know, OmniAuth endpoint there. So yeah, that's, you know, that's the start of the investigation, and the investigation would then carry on. Yeah, I would be the routes that I might take going forward now from this would be, okay, is the way that we've got the OmniAuth mock set up at the moment, is that still correct for the latest or the current version of OmniAuth? So we've got these different things here. We set OmniAuth into test mode. We create these. I mean, I was just looking at this yesterday in the beta starters meeting for a student project for one of the universities in the States, and was reading I was reading a wiki page on OmniAuth mocking from the main which I assume is up to date, and we did ultimately get working with those folks yesterday. Yeah. So, any other questions or thoughts? I'm probably gonna go make a cup of tea.
How do I get back to revert back to that previous Git?
Yeah. Well, that's what I did that here. So if I type you can see what I did here was I did git log to find out which was and so actually it was the one that you mentioned earlier, 5522, what have you. And so I've done git checkout onto that branch. I mean, it's not a branch. So you might have seen, and now it's going to be really long, but what happened when I did that here is it checked me out, and I was in this detached head state. So I got this message. Now, if I wanted to make it a branch and do a pull request and this and that, I could do, but I was just, you know, browsing the code base at this point, if that makes sense. And you see how on my command line it's.
So at that point, then you could do a git checkout to that point and then create a different branch to work on that.
I could. So I mean, you know, as I've done now, depending on whether I thought I was going to make some changes that I wanted to keep. I mean, I might just stay on there. I could create, you know, I could do git checkout -b and say, you know, the the issue number, like I think it's 999 or something, and then do researching why the acceptance test didn't fail. And so that would then allow me to easily share with others the results of my research. Like, oh, look, I've managed to get it into a state where the test does fail, and I'd push that up as a branch and maybe even do a pull request so people could easily, there's a work in progress, so people could easily see the changes, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Working on those lines then.
Yeah, and feel free to have a play around. I mean, I think the interesting thing to be looking at will be, the documentation associated with OmniAuth. In particular, what was disturbing me slightly was that rather than their documentation on mocking being in the repo, it's all in the wiki, and then it's not clear how long ago it's been updated. But that seems to be their standard. That seems to be where their docs are. I was looking to see all their pages. I thought I found. Can we search the wiki? Can we find a page? We've got the word mock in there. Mock, no, or test. Integration testing. Yeah. Yeah. So and this is, I think, was what we're doing, right? We're setting the test mode, and then we're doing the mock auth. That's an alternative there, and we can put different things. Yeah. So I mean that's the kind of, that appears to be still the latest documentation on doing integration tests. I mean, there's this. You feel comfortable with the difference between acceptance testing and integration testing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, to me, acceptance testing is just basically following a user flow as if I were using the app.
Right.
And integration testing is just a case of testing two more different code or data flow through the app, something like that, I would guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, integration testing, I guess I would see it as like, it's whenever you're testing more than one unit interacting with each other. I mean, the interesting thing here is that OmniAuth talking about integration testing here, they're not talking about acceptance testing. So arguably, for it to be a really pure acceptance test, we wouldn't be using these kind of integration test mocks to make it all work, if you know what I mean. Go on.
So in this case, all I'm thinking of should really replace, just as a test, replace the mock with doing it properly and seeing if that causes the error. We could do
maybe just using VCR. That's right. That would be a possibility. Certainly worth a try. The interesting challenge there would be, yes, to what extent, can we keep the VCR caches up to date? I mean, that's a separate. Did you read the section of our docs on the acceptance testing and the caching and stuff?
No, I've not reached that point.
It was just that's it's definitely worth a read. Go on.
I was going to say is that I guess to do with getting stale data, so that your test passes, but it's not really, it's a false positive.
Yes, and I think if you're already familiar with VCR and so on, then you're already, you're half out of the woods, so to speak. But I think for lots of people who come in, it's a very confusing thing, and they're like, oh, I've got all this messy files that are appearing in the support fixtures table directory, and don't they need to be added to the git ignore and so on. And yeah, I kind of, I added this method that we can run to kind of like clean out. The big challenge, I think, comes from, like, in principle, if you have all of the caches all set up correctly and it's all working fine, then you don't get any new spurious like cache hits, as it were, or cache misses, which generate things. But when your tests fail, as they sometimes do if you're doing other stuff, they potentially generate lots of other files, and then that can be very confusing for different developers. But anyhow, yeah, that would be a certainly very interesting experiment to do, which is to try and run the OmniAuth with the VCR, and see if we can get away with not using the integration things, and maybe that would end up being a better test. Whether that will then be a reliable long-term test is a open question.
Okay.
Yeah, I better go off because I've got a new thing going on. Thanks for listening. I hope that was helpful.
Long, actually.
sorry, say again.
I said I didn't realize this was going to take so long.
No, and you should always feel free to, if you ever need to leave. I mean, I'm a bit of a gabbler. I mean, I should be going ready for my next session now. But this is the bread and butter of trying to get these systems to work and run an online community based on the software. So
Okay.
your help very much.
The next website meeting, that's on Friday. Is it Friday?
Yeah, we were talking about moving it to Wednesday. So yeah, I think we might have it tomorrow. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I should set that up. All right. Great to see you, Bill.
Have a good day, Sam.
You too. Bye for now.
All right. Bye.